SLT Mobitel Home Broadband සමගින් non-stop ගමනකට data බෝවන්. SLT Mobitel Home Broadband සමගින් non-stop ගමනකට data බෝවන්.
දසන කාන්ති චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වළකයි.
In your headlines tonight, relief. Similar to state-owned Litro Gas Lanka announcement of a price reduction in domestic gas by the 5th of August, Sipetco slashes prices of auto diesel from tonight. Eagle Eyes. India Navy to monitor Chinese research and surveillance ship due in Sri Lankan waters. Long road to recovery. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says it will be months before Sri Lanka begins to see a marked improvement, but light at the end of the tunnel is visible now. Comply. As the national fuel pass system goes island-wide, public urged to report on fuel hoarding and those violating the national fuel pass system. All this and much more coming up tonight, this Monday, the 1st of August, 2022.
විම් දියර මිලිලීටර් 100 ස්මාර්ට් පැක් එක රුපියල් 85ට දැන් වෙළඳ පොලේ.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a warm welcome. Joining you tonight on First at 9, I'm Indivari Amuatha. In your top stories, President Ranil Wickremesinghe says it will be months before Sri Lanka begins to see economic circumstances improve markedly, although light at the end of the tunnel is very visible now. But he was cautious over how fast Sri Lanka can get there, as a long road to securing economic stability lies ahead. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, President Wickremesinghe meanwhile said it was not the right time for former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to return to the country, as his return would inflame political tensions.
In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has said it is not the right time for former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to return to the country, as it could inflame political tensions. President Wickremesinghe said he is in touch with the former president to deal with administrative handover issues and other government business. The Sri Lankan president went on to say that he has no indication of the former president returning soon, but he believes that it is not the right time for him to return, as it could inflame political tensions, the Wall Street Journal reported. Speaking further, President Wickremesinghe has said Sri Lanka has experienced the worst of its economic crisis, and that restoring political stability will allow it to begin turning a corner, starting with finalizing negotiations for an International Monetary Fund bailout that has stalled due to recent turmoil. Recently, he has said an IMF staff-level agreement is expected to be reached by the end of August, and Sri Lanka will have to secure upwards of $3 billion from other sources next year to support essential imports, including food, fuel and fertilizers. Wickremesinghe also told the Wall Street Journal that he sees a long road to securing economic stability, adding that it will be months before Sri Lankans begin to see economic circumstances improve markedly. Responding to questions, the Sri Lankan president has said that light at the end of the tunnel is now visible, and what matters is how fast Sri Lanka gets there. The president said the discussions with the International Monetary Fund are ongoing and a staff-level agreement would be reached by the end of August. Following that, Sri Lanka will be able to hold talks with sovereign bondholders and bilateral creditors. However, a preliminary agreement would require IMF board approval for funds disbursement, which is a process that could take months.
Now, the Indian Navy announced that it would monitor movements of the Chinese research and surveillance vessel Yuan Wang 5, which was granted access to enter Sri Lanka's Hambantota port, disregarding India's concerns. Indian online news agency quoting Indian defence and security sources said that the Indian Navy has always monitored the activity of such Chinese vessels that operated in the area before, although Yuan Wang 5 is not a military vessel.
The Chinese research and surveillance vessel Yuan 5 due to arrive at Sri Lanka's southern harbour. The Hambantota port has been a topic of controversy in the recent days. India voiced concerns over allowing the ship to enter its immediate neighbour's port, lodging a verbal complaint against Sri Lankan authorities granting permission for the ship to dock. However, despite this, the Sri Lankan Ministry of Defence granted permission for the ship to enter the Hambantota port. The vessel is scheduled to dock at the southern port for a week from August 11th to the 17th. Reuters news agency reported that the purpose of the vessel's arrival in Sri Lanka is to carry out space and satellite surveillance and fulfill other requirements at the port, including refueling. Spokesperson for Sri Lanka's Ministry of Defence, Colonel Nalin Herat, told Indian news agency Public Trust of India yesterday that Sri Lanka routinely gives clearance to commercial and military ships from many countries to go past and also enter Sri Lankan waters. He added that they have given permission and clearance to the Chinese vessel in that context. Given the fact that Sri Lankan authorities had disregarded the Indian government's concern and gone ahead with giving access to the vessel, international media reported that the Indian Navy is monitoring the movements of the Chinese vessel. Quoting sources from India's defence and security establishments, the Indian news agency stated that Yuan 5 is not a military vessel, but they have always monitored the activity of such vessels before. The developments come after the spokesperson of the Indian External Affairs Ministry, Aridnam Bagchi, said that India carefully monitors any developments having a bearing on its security and economic interests. These comments from the Indian External Affairs spokesperson prompted a response from their Chinese counterpart. Reuters stated that Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it hoped relevant parties would refrain from interfering with normal and legitimate maritime activities. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has also called on relevant parties to view and report on China's marine scientific research activities correctly.
Now, the National Fuel Pass system implemented by the Ministry of Power and Energy went into effect across Sri Lanka today. Fuel will be dispensed to vehicles only under a twice-weekly quota specified under the National Fuel Pass system. The ministry, meanwhile, continues to urge the public to send in video or photo evidence of any individuals holding and selling fuel at black market rates and of anyone issuing fuel disregarding the National Fuel Pass system.
The National Fuel Pass system got underway today across the island, invalidating all other methods of fuel distribution that were in effect until yesterday, such as the issuance of fuel as per the assigned date to the last digit of the vehicle number plate. People are now able to obtain fuel for their vehicles based on the quota allocated to them through the National Fuel Pass application. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara stated that the fuel quota allocated this week will be the same for the next week as well. According to the ministry, nearly 5 million vehicle registrations had taken place so far, while 95% of refilling stations island-wide have adopted the QR code system. Yesterday, 152,111 vehicles registered with the National Fuel Pass system. The Ministry of Power and Energy added that 232,780 people were dispensed with fuel yesterday through the QR code system. With the program going island-wide today, the public was seen obtaining fuel under the QR system. The ministry further emphasized that all those who have been unable to register with the National Fuel Pass system using their vehicle chassis number can now register with their vehicle revenue license number instead. In the meantime, the ministry urged the public to send in any video or photo evidence of people who hoard fuel, engage in the sale of fuel at black market prices, and people and staff at refilling stations that dispense fuel disregarding the National Fuel Pass system. The general public can send such evidence to 074 212 3123.
In the meantime, the Private Bus Owners Association state that private bus drivers will continue to withdraw from their services until or unless authorities provide them with adequate fuel.
පෞද්ගලික බස් රථ හිමියන් එක් එක් ප්‍රදේශවලින් දහවන නිවත් වෙමින් තිබෙනවා. දෛනික අවශ්‍ය වන ඩීසල් ලීටර ප්‍රමාණය ලබා දෙනවා නම් මේ වැඩ වර්ජන නවත්තන්න හැකියාව තියෙනවා. එහෙම නොවුනොත් ඉදිරි දින කිහිපය තුල ප්‍රාදේශීය මට්ටමින් නෙමෙයි ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පුරාම මේ වැඩ වර්ජන දීප ව්‍යාප්තව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නට බොහෝ දුරට ඉඩකඩ තිබෙන බව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඕනේ.
Meanwhile, bus drivers of the route 175 engaged in trade union action today, alleging the fuel received by the depot at Angora is being dispensed to other vehicles and for buses that have not been assigned to get fuel from the depot.
අපේ බස් රථවලට තෙල් නැහැ. අඟුරු ඩිපෝ එකෙන් තමයි අපිට තෙල් ලබා ගන්න තියෙන ළඟම ඩිපෝ එක. අපිට එහෙන් තෙල් නිකුත් කරන්න නැති නිසා අපි ධාවනයෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. දුර බස් රූට් වලට දෙනවා තෙල්. අපි දැන් අපිට අද දෙනවා හෙට දෙනවා කියලා මිසක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන් අධික ලාභ ලබනවා අපේ මාර්ගෙන්.
Later, they carried out their protest in front of the Angora bus depot.
Now, Litro Gas Lanka Limited announced today that it expects to reduce the prices of gas cylinders by the 5th of August. Chairman of the state-owned gas distributor, Mudita Pires, said that it hopes to be able to do so because the company has adopted a new pricing formula. Mudita Pires went on to say that they are confident that they will be able to eradicate queues for cooking gas 100% in the next 2 days.
There seems to be some progress towards solving the long queues for domestic LP gas with shortages persisting in the country as part of Sri Lanka's larger economic crisis. Systematically, the country has been able to procure multiple shipments of LP gas in the past month. Sri Lanka received a total of 33,000 metric tons of LPG gas in the month of July, which has greatly contributed to the reduction of long queues outside retail stores. The prices of a cylinder of LPG gas was also hiked in the past month, with the price of a 12.5 kilogram cylinder increasing by 50 rupees to 4,910 rupees. However, state-run Litro Gas Lanka Limited announced today that it is planning to reduce prices of gas cylinders in the coming days.
We have currently introduced a new pricing formula with the help of Finance Ministry, Treasury Secretary, and of course with the President's Secretariat with the Cabinet approval also. Based on that formula, we are expecting to reduce the price by 5th morning. Right now, currently, we have already issued about 2.2 plus cylinders to the market. We have received about 8 plus gas shipments up to now, and we have another nominated quantity of 25,000 for the month of August, and again another 25,000 month of September also. As we promised to, we are confident that we can 100% get rid of the gas queues. Maybe next 1 to 2 days it will be 100%. We can get rid of the long queues what the country experienced last few weeks.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announced today that the prices of a litre of auto diesel will be reduced by 10 rupees. The CPC announced that it will reduce the prices of auto diesel by 10 rupees with effect from 10 p.m. tonight. Accordingly, the new price of a litre of auto diesel will be 430 rupees. However, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation noted that prices of all other fuel products will remain unchanged. Fuel prices were expected to be revised today in line with the fuel pricing formula. Cabinet approves the 22nd Amendment. Details after this break.
Big 3.
Welcome back to the news. The Ministry of Justice announced that the draft of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution has been approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. The draft constitutional amendment was presented to the Cabinet by Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa and subsequently approved by the Cabinet. The amendment, which was referred to as the 21st Amendment, will in fact be the 22nd Amendment, as a previous draft 21st Amendment was already gazetted. Policy approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was given on the 20th of June for the preliminary draft of the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, which was subsequently prepared by the legal draftsman. The constitutional amendment is expected to empower Parliament over the Executive President and annul the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, the Supreme Court extended the travel ban imposed on former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Minister Basil Rajapaksa until August 4th, as they have been named respondents in a case filed over economic mismanagement. Meanwhile, YouTuber Ratindu Senaratne alias Ratta was arrested by the Colombo Central Crimes Division on charges of damaging public property during a protest on the 21st of May following the Fort Magistrate Court ordering overseas travel bans on 3 suspects, including the YouTuber.
A motion was filed on 13th of July seeking an order prohibiting former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa, former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral and several others from leaving the country. Following the FR petition that was taken up before a 5-member bench consisting of Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya and Supreme Court Justices L.T.B. Dehideniya and Bhuvanika Aluvihare, Priyantha Jayawardena and Vijit Malalgoda. When the petition was taken up today, the judge bench extended the travel ban on the former Prime Minister and former Finance Minister until the 4th of August. Meanwhile, the Colombo Fort Magistrate Thilina Gamage issued an order barring 3 persons, including YouTuber Ratindu Senaratne alias Ratta, from travelling overseas. Sri Lanka police informed court that the individuals are at risk of travelling overseas as they have been named suspects in a complaint filed by the Fort Police on charges including being members of an unlawful assembly. Later this evening, the YouTuber was arrested by the Colombo Crimes Division over a case filed at the Fort Magistrates Court pertaining to damaging public property during a protest on the 21st of May.
Now, with Sri Lanka's daily COVID caseload recorded at 108 today, the Ministry of Health emphasised on the need for all persons over the age of 60 to get their recommended vaccine doses. According to health sector reports, close to 1 million people in the age category are yet to complete their vaccine recommendation. The Ministry of Health urged the public to get vaccinated as soon as possible, as the Pfizer vaccine manufacturer has extended the expiry of vaccines by 90 days.
We've started experiencing about 20 cases in the first week of July, which was increased to about 30 to 35 cases on the second or the third week rather, and which went up to about slightly over about 100 cases we are currently experiencing. Total number of deaths for the month has been reported as about close to about 30 deaths, which is an alarming sign actually, because as the report states, there had been about 1 million who are above 60 had not got the recommended vaccinations which is freely available. So this is the cohort of population which are most vulnerable for this disease. The BA5 Omicron variant is spreading around the globe, which has come to Sri Lanka as well, and I would urge the general public. So with your support, the first and the second and the third waves were successfully managed by the health authorities and the rest of the sectors. And if we are to overcome this at this critical juncture, at this critical point where the country is facing, we need not to be considering to overburden the health system or the state sector. So the best practices is to follow all the health measures, all the health guidelines which have been released time to time, and we've been directing the general public. Moreover, it is very important for all the individuals who had not got the first vaccination, second, third or the fourth, which have been recently instructed, please be kind enough to go to your nearest medical officer of health station or the nearest hospital, or inform your public health inspector in your area and get your vaccination as early as possible. And there is special note which had to be added on to this. The expiry date of this vaccine is being extended by the manufacturer Pfizer, and which is being approved by the National Medicinal Regulatory Authority of Sri Lanka, that this vaccine expiry date is being extended for a period of 90 days, where any of the individuals who, most of the deaths which were reported were above 60, and most of the deaths were also in relation with the people who were having diseases, non-communicable diseases, and most of the people were having other ailments as well.
Now, the Department of Meteorology says that showers and winds are likely to enhance in the western and southern sea areas and over the southwestern quarter of the island during the next few days, starting today with the strengthening of the southwest monsoon. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western Sabragamuwa, northern and northwestern provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Heavy falls above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in these areas. The Met Department said that strong winds about 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times along the western slopes of the Central Hills and in the western and southern provinces. According to Sri Lanka Railways, train services along the upcountry railway line have been disrupted due to inclement weather conditions. The department said that 2 night mail trains from Colombo Fort to Badulla and from Badulla to Colombo Fort were cancelled owing to the inclement weather condition. Taking you to the Colombo share market, the Bows extended the bull rally for a third straight session with strengthened investor sentiment over the country's economic and political environment. The main ASPI index climbed up upon market opening as investors displayed buying interest, typically in the plantation sector and hay lease. However, anticipated fuel price revisions brought in some profit-taking in LIOC amidst the buying spree before the index closed in green territory. The ASPI closed at 7,769, gaining 37 points during today's session. Turnover was fueled by improved retail participation and recorded at 1.8 billion rupees. The energy sector and food, beverage and tobacco sector jointly contributed 45% to overall turnover. Foreign investors, meanwhile, remain net buyers for the fourth straight session despite low participation. Now, oil prices dropped today as weak manufacturing data from China and Japan weighed on the demand outlook, while investors braced for the week's meeting of officials from OPEC and other top crude producers on supply adjustments. Brent crude futures were down $1.42 or 1.4% at $102.55 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down $1.85 or 1.9% at $96.77 a barrel. The world's largest crude oil importer, China, saw a sudden end to a brief recovery for factory activity as a fresh COVID-19 lockdown has come into effect. Meanwhile, data have showed that Japanese manufacturing activity expanded at its weakest rate in 10 months during the month of July. Brent and WTI ended July with second straight monthly losses for the first time since year 2020 as soaring inflation and higher interest rates raise fears of a recession that would erode fuel demand. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, including Russia, together known as OPEC Plus, will meet on Wednesday to decide on September output. The meeting comes after US President Joe Biden visited Saudi Arabia last month. Well, that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9, your AdaDerana English news service. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.